Hi there, Agile friends. I'll come in here just with a quick note to let you know that the Agile Online Summit 2022 is coming soon. To know more, check out bit.ly/AOS2022. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/AOS2022. Now, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to know more, but for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from Detroit in the US is Ruta Hardikar. Hey, Ruta, welcome to the show.
Hey, Vasco. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. So, Ruta has over 8 years experience with Agile and has taken many roles, among which Agile Coach, Scrum Master, Release Train Engineer or RTE in SAFe, and works with GM Financial. So, Ruta, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story, right? When I took my first tech job, so my team was working in Agile framework, and I joined as a business analyst. So that's my first introduction to Agile framework. And when I joined the company, I saw the atmosphere. It was open. Everybody were getting together. We were not being dictated by someone what we have to do, but it's more of we had autonomy, what we were going to work on. We knew the priority. There was open atmosphere where if there is any feedback, any challenges we are facing, then we were able to discuss it openly, get feedback, and move forward. I was really impressed by this type of work culture, right? It was not just about the processes or the framework that was implemented, but because of Agile, the culture that was in the team was very inspiring. And as I started learning more about the framework, I showed my interest that, I want to be a Scrum Master. And there is a reason for it, right? I am a people's person, right? I love to be around people. I feel that I can connect with them better. I love to serve them in either ways, right? Whether it's hosting a nice party at home or doing some volunteering work, I love to serve people. So I thought this is the best role for me. And that's how I ended up becoming Scrum Master, right? Of course, the journey was not easy. I took some certifications to get more knowledge about the role, how I can serve better, how I can help my team delivering value, and organization being agile. So that's how it started. And I have been in this role for over 8 years now, wore multiple hats, starting from business analyst to a scrum master. And I'm now serving as a release train engineer. Also, I'm a safe program consultant, so do a lot of internal, external trainings. Like I said, people's person, love to interact with people, being around them.
Absolutely. And that's actually a quite common feature among Scrum Masters, right? To, the appreciate the fact that we do work with people. And that's not to say we don't appreciate other aspects, but that becomes kind of a defining factor because it is. I mean, after all, being a Scrum Master is mostly working with people and also for people, right? When we talk about the aspect of servant leader. So, Ruta, now we turn our attention to those stories that we go through, perhaps in the first years of our experience, perhaps later, but there's always stories where, they describe a moment of difficulty, a moment where everything that you had learned, that you had experience with, that didn't prepare you for something new. And of course, new things, new situations are learning opportunities, but they are also failing opportunities. And that's what we want to explore. A story of failure, but a story that also left you with some very important lessons learned. So tell us that story, Ruta.
Yeah, for sure. And to start with, currently I'm reading a book called The Obstacle is the Way by Royal and Holiday. I love reading. I would recommend that to all the listeners. That itself tells that obstacle in the path becomes the path, right? It's actually a learning opportunity. So I strongly believe in fail when we say FAIL is first attempt in learning. So there were several failures that I have been through. Of course, cannot share every story due respect to time. But one thing I would like to share is I was part of an organization and I was a Scrum Master at that time. So I was working with my team. It was pretty new. They were in the recent adoption phase of Agile framework. So a lot of processes were new. They were new to the events. They were still figuring out what needs to happen, and I was in the more of a coaching role there, right? So what happened is there were a few things that were not going as expected.
What were
I had
some of those things?
for example, we were not having iteration reviews or sprint reviews, right? So instead of having a sprint review, there were some demos that were happening with just PO or just business analyst. We had business analyst role at that time. So I was trying to convince that let's have our sprint review or iteration review, whether you follow Scrum or Safe. I try to tell both. Because it is necessary to bring people in the room, get their feedback, inspect and adapt, and reflect upon that rather than showing your work individually to the people and gathering feedback. Let's create that transparency and get the feedback. So I was trying to convince that and coaching the importance of sprint review or iteration review. And what happened is I realized, this was the failure that I realized later on is remember when you're trying to give feedback, make sure you have trust relationship established with that person, right?
So
Whether
what
it's
was happening? You were suggesting that they should have sprint reviews, and how was the team reacting?
so not about it was not about the team, but more of our POs and business analysts that they wanted to have it one-on-one demo with individual stakeholder rather than a sprint review where
Oh, so
everybody
they
is
wanted to
invited.
control what was shown to the stakeholders then.
And then not having a lot of people in the room, probably just
Yeah,
one-on-one demo,
yeah.
right?
Do you have a sense of why they wanted that? Like, what was the rationale, the need that was fulfilled with that approach?
There are different personalities. Sometimes, being an introvert, you don't want a lot of people, a big room event where there could be multiple questions or big discussions about what you're being developed. Could be one reason. And second reason could be we don't have requirements from all the stakeholders necessarily. Probably the requirement came from just one stakeholder, and probably he's one that is interested. So in that case, doesn't make any sense to invite everyone, being mindful of their time, right? So a couple of reasons that was a possibility, right? And what I noticed is like I mentioned in the beginning, that I recently joined the team. They were in the early phase of adoption. So I felt that I was not able to develop that trust relationship with that PO and a business analyst before providing the feedback, right? So, because of not having that relationship, the feedback was taken in a different way. When I say different way, then rather than, okay, let's work upon it, or why do you want to do it? Rather than having a conversation that turned into a defensive conversation, rather than, instead of taking that feedback openly, they were kind of defensive. Nobody to
Yeah.
blame here, but
No, no,
that was a
and I
learning.
think it is a fair. I mean,
Yeah.
we can only put ourselves in the shoes of that PO and BA, right? They probably had been working at organizing the demo, so that there were some demos, but the blast radius, if you will, was controlled, and they were only showing what needed to be shown to the right people, etc. And they probably put a lot of thought into it. And then a new Scrum Master comes in and says, "Hey, this is wrong. You should be having a demo with everybody." I mean, if we describe it this way, it makes perfect sense to push back, right? And I think that what you said, like you had not yet developed that trustful relationship with them. I think that's a very important insight after the fact. But even if we take it one step before that, is that even when we don't have, even when we do have a trustful relationship with someone, the fact that we see something doesn't mean that they agree with it or even that they see it at all, right? Because for them, they could say, hey, we're collecting feedback, we're giving the feedback back to the team, we're showing it to stakeholders, everything is fine, we're just doing it our way, right? And this raises one topic which I'd like to get your perspective on, which is this idea that when we work with a team, and in this case with the PO and BA, we are working to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Yes.
And of course, we may give them feedback, say, hey, that's not the best way to achieve what you want to achieve. But it has to start from there, right? It has to start from what is it that they are trying to achieve.
Yes. And I always coach that focus on what and how, right? So what should come from our PO, what and how should be determined by our Agile team, right? So POs are the one close to the customer, right? I always coach that let's keep our customer at the center, whatever we are developing, either solution, service, product, whatever that is. Let's keep our customer at the center. Let's work towards how they can get value faster, right? So POs are the one who would define the priorities, what our customers want, what is something that is not working out for our customers, and agile teams, our developers, would define the solution, how to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing happens in process with the team and us, right? As agilists and experienced agilists, we have to say, hey, feedback is critical, right? You can't develop software and hide from feedback. You have to develop software and collect, request, invite feedback. But then we work with them as to how do we get that feedback, right? Like, who do we involve? And also, which is something that I would consider at that point, that, look, dear PO, dear BA, you may want to get feedback on a specific requirement from that stakeholder who asked for it. But don't forget that this other stakeholder will also need that functionality. And you can't develop that functionality only for that stakeholder that requested it. You need to develop it for everyone that is using the system, right? And so understanding that sometimes the feedback that is not invited, it's still valuable and critical, even though it's unexpected.
Yes, very well said. And as a Scrum Master, I feel that, or as a change agent, we need to be comfortable with having those uncomfortable conversations. It's part of our job,
Yeah,
right? So I'm sure this is for all the listeners that each one of you, if you are a Scrum Master, change agent, release train engineer, you are going to run into these type of situations, right? The best thing is have that trust relationship, clearly explain the why behind it. Why do you want to bring this change? Why do you want to change the process? And keep it as an open conversation. Like be ready to accept opinion, have a discussion. Healthy disagreements are fine because sometimes we need those disagreements in order to think in different perspectives. But make sure that it's in the best interest of our customer.
absolutely. And I want to emphasize what you said once again. As Scrum Masters, we need to be comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations. That's a great reminder. Thank you for sharing that story, Ruta.
Thank you.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around to know more about this year's Agile Online Summit. The summit will have 4 keynotes and 4 tracks you will not want to miss. The keynotes will touch on critical topics for us, from delivering on time to helping you to focus on sustainability. The 4 tracks are tools, so we'll focus on tools you need to excel at your job, but also your mission. We'll also have a track on sustainability, which is, of course, about people and their sustainable pace, but it's also about how do we bring sustainability to the products and the planet we inhabit. We'll have a 3rd track about happiness, talking about doing what we love and, most crucially, loving what we do. And finally, the 4th track will be live. It will be mostly hands-on sessions to help you roll up your sleeves together with the presenters. Oh, and we will also have a coaching clinic, as we usually do, organized to help you discuss and get inspired to solve the hardest challenges you face at work. This year, we'll have a special emphasis on interaction with your peers, so get your ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/AOS 2022. As always, we have free tickets for anyone that wants to attend live, and the VIP tickets for those of you who want to keep the videos forever. So check them out at bit.ly/AOS 2022. I'll see you on the conference floor. Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests help their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.